I think I went out there and I was really excited. It was my first start. But I also think that, as the game went on, I got comfortable. And that second half, I felt, like I was ready to go. So I think that, that just comes with experience. That was my first start. I think that happens. I get excited. I want to do well. But I think going into this next game, that's going to be a big focal point, is going out there the first half and making sure that I get going early.
Cody, I know y'all hadn't seen a whole lot of tape on ULL, and probably will be a little bit more today, but what off the top of your head jumped off that impressed you most about what they're doing defensively?
They do a great job. They kind of mix up coverages. I think that's the big thing. I need to just make sure I'm in the film room and, I'm comfortable with what they're doing and I'm able to see it early.
Talk about that first quarter. What was going through your mind? All the 3 and outs. I mean, how hard was it to stay focused?
That's hard. But that's a good football team. Give kudos to them. They did a great job. We just got to make sure that against Lafayette, we come out there in the first half and we make sure we execute from an offensive standpoint. We had a lot of things, a lot of miscues, a lot of misassignments. But that's something that we can learn on and we can get better this week going into this next game.
How important this game is getting just the running game more involved, since you kind of struggle with that this week in terms of what your opinion is on
I'm sorry, say that again?
How important is it for you just offensively to get the running game more involved this week, since the running backs didn't do as well as you wanted them to this week?
Those guys do a great job back there, and they did a great job protecting for me. But yeah, that's also a big thing that we need to do is establish a run game. I think that opens up the pass game a lot. But those guys work hard, and I think our offensive line is doing a great job. They're getting better day to day, and that's something that we're gonna look for this next game, is to develop a run game.
Cody, that play where Brunson snapped it into Hunter's leg. What happened on that play?
That's just little stuff. We worked on that all week and we are good. But when you get out there, sometimes communication is harder. I mean, you're in a big stadium, it's loud, and that's kind of that's on us. So biggest thing is I'm happy that we got on the ball. That's the biggest thing, is we didn't want to get a turnover there. But yep.
The 2 throws that kind of stood out to me was the interception, obviously, and then the one that you had Kenneth on the wheel route. Other than that, was there any ones that you wish you had back? And if you can kind of just touch on those 2 plays specifically and what you saw and what you can do better, I guess, next time.
Yeah, those are definitely 2 throws that I wish I had back. We worked on that a lot during practice, and I think that those were throws that I was making in practice, and those throws that I can make. So I think that just came with like a little bit of the excitement. I wanted to get the ball into their hands quick. The interception, I was getting a little pressure, and I saw the corner with his back turned, so I tried to throw a little back shoulder ball, and the guy made a great play on it. And then Kenneth Dixon's little wheel route, try to get the ball to him a little quicker than I probably should have. I should have put some air underneath that. So that's probably something that I'll learn from and take after that game.
Coach was saying he's pretty blunt honest with you guys about just going through different plays and things you did wrong against Oklahoma. So just evaluate and tell me what you think the confidence of the team is going into this week, and making sure you guys don't go 0-2.
I think we're really confident. I think that's a game that we all learned from, and I think it's a great game that we were able to start with. That's a different environment. That's a great team that we played. They did a lot of good things defensively, but offensively, I think that we also did some things to hurt ourselves. So that's some things that we can do a lot to improve on. We can make a lot of corrections and go back, look on film, and really see that it really wasn't them, it was us, a lot of us hurting ourselves. So I'm excited. I think as a team we're excited to go into this next game.
Trent Taylor's a guy that it doesn't seem like he gets rattled in any environment y'all go into, and it seems like you've got a pretty good rapport with him thus far. Talk about Trent Saturday.
Yeah, he does a great job. He's one of those guys that works his butt off, and he's one of those guys that really I don't think anyone can cover him. He's a great route runner. He does a great job in the passing game, getting open. And me and him have developed, a rapport over the summer. That's where it started, is, going out there every day and throwing balls to him. So, I'm excited about this next week with him.
You can certainly appreciate having played Northern Iowa, Iowa State, and in-state rival games and how important they are to the university. not being involved in this one, appreciating it, it certainly is a big one for the state of Louisiana. Your thoughts on that, and do you get caught up in all that?
You know, you don't really get caught up on it, but you know that it's important. I think that's big everywhere you go. Is you have those in-state rivalry games, and they mean a lot. I think a lot of our guys are excited to play this game, and we're really working hard because this is a game that we need to win.
You took some big licks, some that the play where I got ejected for targeting, and then a few throws where you stood in the pocket, delivered nice balls. Where does your toughness come from? Oftentimes you see quarterbacks that might just fall off their back foot. You stood in there, took the hit, and made the throw.
I think that's just part of my job as a quarterback. That's the toughness that comes with playing quarterback, because you got to stand in there and take hits.
And if you can just touch on your, relationship with Sterling, it was probably the best that we've seen him, and since coming over from last year. I guess how much does the chemistry help that he is a 6-year guy, you're a 5th-year guy? It seems you can probably relate to him more and kind of develop a chemistry quicker.
He was one of those first guys that I came in and I met, and he's also one of those guys that was out there every day during the summer working with me. So I think he's done a great job. He's had a great camp. He looks fresh. He's out there. He's running really well, and he's making a lot of plays.